for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome. Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? How you doing? I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. Right on. All right, let's do this. Today's Tuesday, December 11th, 2018. 345 days into the new year, just 20 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Tuesday nights. That's right, and tonight is night 2 of our Influencer Week. And tonight it's Kerry Cassidy from Project Camelot. That's right, she's here. She's going to join up with us at the bottom of the hour. Tomorrow night, Tyler Glockner from Secureteam is here for his first ever interview. That's right, that's going down tomorrow night. Pretty excited about that. So great week. Last night, you know, when you have something like Influencer Week and you warm things up with somebody like Billy Carson last night, tonight Kerry Cassidy, and tomorrow night Tyler. Thursday night is going to be Fader night, open lines, but we have Teresa Yanaris with us of Divine Frequency. Influencers all week long here on Fade to Black. It's just a great opportunity for all of us to, you know, get into what makes these influencers tick. You know, how did they get it done? And it's extraordinary what they all have accomplished. So there you go. That's our week here on Fade to Black. And don't forget all of our social media and follow us there on Stellar, onstellar.com, ONSTELLAR.com, onstellar.com. Hit us up over there. Twitter is at JChurchRadio. Facebook is it Fade to Black or Jimmy Church Radio over there? I don't know. But the links to it are over at the website. And, of course, YouTube. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel right there. It's on the website, too, as well. At JChurchRadio is Twitter. Now, hashtag F2B is the sandbox. And that's where you want to go and hang out, okay? The sandbox, that's where the conversations happen tonight during the show. Again, like every other night, we're going to burn through probably 1,000, 2,000, or 3,000 tweets. And to see that happen, you really got to just come over and hang out. We use TweetDeck, and most of the Fadernauts use TweetDeck because it loads automatically like it's doing right now. Click, 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 right past. And if you have TweetDeck, you hear me going click, click, click because you're watching it too. Go click, click, click. So you can go and do that. And that's the easy way to go. All right, TweetDeck. You can also email Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Cranking down to the end of the year. And today is the 11th. And when I said that a few minutes ago, 25 days left, 24, 23, 20, 19. We're here. We're at the end of the year. So what are you going to be doing, right? Do you have your holiday parties and Christmas parties, New Year's parties all set up? Well, you can come and hang out with us. The Fade to Black holiday / Christmas party is going to be December 26th at the world-famous Rainbow Bar and Grill on the Sunset Strip right here in Hollywood, California. So come and hang out with us. All you have to do, you can do a couple of things. One, shoot me an email, right? Jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. Jimmy, here we are. We're going to attend. Shoot me an email. You can do that, right? Number two, go to our Facebook links, which we have up in Twitter, and head over to Facebook to do our little events thing, and let us know that you're going to be attending, okay? And the third thing, which is the last resort, you can just show up and go up to the door, to the big, burly door dude, and go, all right, I'm here for the Fade to Black party. And he's going to let you in, all right? But then I don't get a head count. Right? So it would be really nice if you email myself or Rita or let us know over on Facebook, okay? And we can get a rough count. And there you go. We got room for about 200, maybe, we could probably push it to about 250. It's probably getting a little cramped at that point. So let us know, okay? There you go. All right, so come and spend it with us. I got an email. I should almost read this on the air. I wonder if he would care. Hold on for a second. I didn't plan on doing this, but so you know what? I won't say his last name. I got this email from Peter today. It says, "Hey Jimmy, there are 12 days of Christmas, dude, all the way to Three Kings Day. So you can still say, or still call your holiday party a Christmas party." Quoting you. Aight, Peter. I wrote him back. I said, man, noted. There are 12 days of Christmas. So, I feel that I'm not going to have a fact check, right? That I'm going to have to do some kind of redaction, some kind of redaction, and go, okay, man. So I guess I'm in the clear. So, Rita, we can call it a Christmas party. Dang it. It's a holiday / Christmas party. There you go. December 26th. All right. And don't forget, right after that, come and join us for the 2019 Conscious Life Expo right here in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton, right? At the end of February. All of the information that you need is just click on the Conscious Life banner at jimmychurchradio.com. It'll take you straight over where you can get a full conference schedule. You can get your tickets and information. And of course, staying at the LAX Hilton, too, is a pretty cool thing to do. This year, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken. And I will be hosting the panel, the Ancient Aliens panel with Eric and Linda Moulton Howe and Jason Martell, Billy Carson, and David Wilcock. That'll be on Friday night. That's one of the opening events for the weekend. And that's downstairs in the big main ballroom. And so you've got to get, that's going to be sold out. So you want to get your tickets in advance for that. But that's going to be really cool because we are celebrating with Eric. And there's going to be some pretty cool festivities going on. I can't leak the information. I can't leak it in advance. I can't. But you're going to want to be there. Okay? This year, 50 speakers, including George Norrie, Nassim Haramein, Robert Schock, Daniel Brinkley, Grant Cameron, Julia Mossbridge, Teresa Yannaris. It's going to be great. The 2019 Conscious Life Expo. All right. Now, I got a bunch of, I don't know, what happened with this. Hey, Rita, can you bring me the night vision? Can you bring it's in her office. We had it during, okay, maybe I'll get it in here on the camera. The new Orion night vision from Hoffman's Optics. So I got all this email and I got a couple of texts about night vision goggles. I was like, and I remembered. it's the season, right? It's Christmas. So that's what's going on right now, and I get it. So you want to go to hoffmansoptics.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And when you get to the homepage, you scroll to the bottom, and you will see all of the Jimmy Church Edition night vision goggles. There are 4, 1 monocular, and they're all at the bottom of the page. And you really, and there's some extremely affordable stuff there too as well, all the way up to the new Gen 4. That's right. You heard me. The new Gen 4. You've got to go and check them out. Everything, the complete product line is right there. All right? hoffmansoptics.com. Give Alec Hoffman a call. All right? Where are we at? Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. It is just $2 per month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com. Click on that podcast banner. We have over 950 shows right there in the archives. 950. You can also become a Fade or Not over in our membership section on the site. You can get hats, T-shirts, everything's autographed. That's cool. Remember, those hats are only available through the membership. They're not for sale. I don't give them away. You can beg. You can do whatever you want. Jimmy, man, I just lost my job. Can you give me a hat? Nope. Cannot do it. Nope. Hey, man, I got a flat tire on the way here, and I spent my money on a flat tire. Can you give me a hat? Nope. Cannot. I got to respect my word. My word is you only get the hats when you become a game changer. And those that have become a game changer, they know how exclusive those hats are, right? And when you're wearing the hat and you're walking at a conference, you're walking down the street, you're at the mall, somebody walks past you with the Fade to Black hat on, you know he's a game changer. He's a Fade or Not along with you. And that's the only way you got those hats. Of course, unless you're Micah from the United Kingdom. But that's an exception. That only happened once. All right. All right. Become a Fade or Not today over in our membership section on the site. And visit all of our sponsors. Visit them all. Click on their banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. Numana Food Storage, Fast Start Diet, Ancient Life Oil, Life Change Tea, and of course, did I just say that? Hoffman's Optics, but of course, Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. All right. Here we go. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Nikki Sixx. That's right. Motley Crue bassist Nikki Sixx is 60. That's a lot of sixes. Nikki Sixx is 60. Most Def today is 45. And I went around and checked on this. I almost don't buy that Most Def is 45 years old. I thought he was much older. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? That came out 10 years ago. So he was only 35 when that came out. Be Kind, Rewind. I watched that. That movie came out in like 1971. You know, how can Most Def be 45 years old? And I am going to text Rita right now. I'm wondering where these night visions are. So I'm going to do this. All right. Bring me the night vision, the new ones. That's what I got to do. You like that? Oh, man, I'm in trouble now. I'm in so much trouble. Oh, man. Okay. Where am I? I'm in so much trouble. Most Def is 45 years old. And our dead guy's birthday today is Vampira. 1922 to 2008. Died at the age of 85. One of Hollywood's first horror glamour girls. That's right. Vampira. Best known, though, for starring in that Ed Wood cult film classic, Plan 9 from Outer Space, which I have on VHS and DVD. I got 2 versions of it on DVD. That's right. Plan 9 from Outer Space. All right. On this day in history, Check this out. December 11th is a strange day in history. Check this out. 1964, Sam Cooke dies under suspicious circumstances right here in Los Angeles. He's shot 3 times at the Hacienda Hotel. 1978, the big heist, the all that money that was jacked from the JFK airport in that infamous Lufthansa heist. Remember that? 1978. 1981, Muhammad Ali loses to Trevor Berbick in his last fight. He retires for the second time. 1994, Boris Yeltsin orders Russian forces into Chechnya. And in 2008, billionaire con man Bernie Madoff is arrested. all that on one day. December 11th, man. What happened today, right? What happened today? Kerry Cassidy was on Fade to Black on December 11, 2018. Fade or fact? Mad as a Hatter. Mad as a Hatter. And Mad Hatter came from men who worked in the hat industry that were suffering from mercury poisoning because mercury was used in hat making. And that is your Fade or fact. And I know you feel a little bit smarter. Now, Rita just brought these in to me. Now, check these out. I want you to look at this. Look. New night vision. Is that incredible? Look how tiny it is. Right? Fits right in the palm of your hand. And you can get this right now from Bearing Optics. These are on sale. That is only $600. Right there. It records. You just hold it up. Bam. Top. Record. Record. It's digital. It's got a zoom. It's USB. It's got a rechargeable battery in it. Is that the coolest thing you have ever seen? Look at that. Okay, are you picking up what I'm putting down? Tripod mount, full settings right there. Everything that you need to do. Record button right on the top. Right on the top. So you're holding it. Boom, done. Bam, record, download right there. That's the Orion from Hoffman's Optics. That is the coolest thing ever right there. Now I'm showing it to you. That is the Christmas gift right there. That is it. Look at that. Is that crazy? It's beautiful. That is called the Orion. So go to hoffmansoptics.com and you can check it out. And you've seen, when you look at it in the pictures, right, that's one thing. But look at this. Look at that. Okay? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? You better be. That's the Orion. $600 on sale, $200 off right now. That is just incredible. Incredible. Night vision, NVGs. So everybody's been contacting me about them. Well, you know what? For your Christmas right there, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. All right. Let's go. Now, tonight, Kerry Cassidy is here, and it's Influencer Week, and last night, Billy Carson. Tomorrow night is Tyler Glockner. Now, this is the deal. It's our Influencer Week, and as I'm pretty happy, pretty amazed, getting these 3 guests on the show for the week. But it got me thinking, and I've talked about this before, but I've got to go back and revisit this. Who influenced me? Who influenced me? Right? Well, it's actually very simple. And it maybe not what you may think. But check this out. I want everybody to write these 3 names down. You can go and get the archives. All of their shows that they have done, some of it goes, back 60, 70 years. But everything, most of it is available online. You may have to do a little bit of searching, but I assure you it's well worth it. You need to go check it out, and I'm going to give you some reasons why right now. Let me hit this coffee. Long John Nebel. Write that down. Long John Nebel. Nebel. Long John Nebel. Long John Nebel had the party line in New York City. And the party line was way ahead of its time. And at Long John's peak, he was doing probably 35, 40 to 50 million people per night. Okay? Long John Nebel. He had a table set up at WOR out of New York City in Manhattan, downtown. Had a table with telephones, had microphones, and he would bring in every single night 3, 4, 5, 6 guests, and they would sit around the table and talk and take phone calls. They had switchboards. They, right? They had operators answering phone calls, and way ahead of the curve. Long John Nebel covered everything. All of the subjects. He did ghosts, he did telepathy, of course he did UFOs, and he did conspiracies, and did the craziest shows ever. And he was genuinely interested in the subject. And if you study UFO history, all of those names that we know today, they were on his show in 1955, 56, 57, 58. He had Arthur C. Clarke on his show, right? Go and check out all of the vintage broadcasts from Long John Nebel. And another one that really influenced me was Billy Goodman, who had his UFO show called Coast to Coast. That's right before our bell in Las Vegas. Ran for a couple of years. Billy Goodman was a rock and roll DJ here in Los Angeles, moves to Las Vegas and starts Coast to Coast. And Billy, his stuff, if you go and just check Billy out for his Bill Cooper stuff, that's radio gold. Radio gold. So you need to go check that out. And I would get these cassette tapes of Billy Goodman. I had a friend of mine that had another connection in Las Vegas. And it was like, especially back then, it was trading these tapes, right? Okay, man, I'll give you this one if you let me borrow your Wendell Stevens videotape. All right, so we trade. And he would get his back. I get my Wendell Stevens videotape back, whatever. But Billy Goodman influenced, okay? And there's one more. So write that down. Billy Goodman out of Las Vegas, Coast to Coast. We'll go and listen to his shows. They're out there on the net. And the other one, an absolute radio gold, and for me changed everything, was Bill Jenkins. Bill Jenkins, that's Jenkins. Bill Jenkins had Open Mind Radio, and it aired on Saturdays here in Los Angeles on KABC Radio. And he did the same thing. He had phone calls, and when you go and listen to, you can get all of his stuff. When you go and listen to his shows, and back then they didn't even do area codes. That was the trippy thing, man. Back in the mid-'80s when they started like 818 or whatever, but there was no need for area codes back then. But anyway, Bill Jenkins out of KABC. And now there's a few things that you need to note here. I want you to go and listen to all of these broadcasts because with Nebel, he covered every major UFO incident. He had all of the players on. He had all of the authors, the researchers, the contactees, all of them, right? But he never mentioned Roswell. Nebel broadcast on WOR from the mid-1950s all the way to 1978. And I'm telling you, every researcher nobody mentioned Roswell. And you would think that Kenneth Arnold would have mentioned Roswell or remembered it, mentioned it once. He was a frequent guest of Long John. You can go and listen to many, many shows with him. I've listened to every broadcast. Kenneth Arnold never mentioned Roswell. It's very strange. And then when you go and listen to some of this earlier radio stuff that mention Roswell, there's Bill Moore on Bill Jenkins' Open Mind program in the mid-'80s. And even then, here, Bill Moore was more interested during those broadcasts with the face on Mars than Roswell. And he was talking about his new documents that he's revealing and everything. Go and check it out. Bill Jenkins' Open Mind on KABC Radio. Remember, Bill Moore published the Roswell incident in 1980 with Charles Berlitz. Well, that's right. 1980, 6 years later, when he was on Bill Jenkins' show, didn't really mention Roswell. It's very interesting. Now, and this is a little project for you guys. Just go and check this out. The Billy Goodman stuff. He had, I believe he had Lazar on that show, predating everything, right? That's right. But it's his stuff with Bill Cooper. And Billy, when you go and listen to the programs, it seemed like he had Bill Cooper on every show, at least for a period there. Bill Cooper was changing things, and Bill was very interested in the UFO subject. They were all going out to Area 51. They were camping out overnight. Bill Cooper had a couple of caravans that he ran out there to Groom Lake. And all of that is on Billy Goodman's show. So you should go and check these programs out, because this is what got me really interested in what I'm doing today. Of course, there is Art Bell. We all love Art Bell, and we know what Art Bell did and how he influenced. There's no question about that. But there were people before Art that were doing it, and doing it well, doing it right. And those three names right there, Billy Goodman, Bill Jenkins, and Long John Nebel. Incredible programs, great fun to listen to at night. And the stuff that is available right now online, all of the archives, are all very clean and easy to listen to. And just think about how easy it is for us to do that today, to go and do this research and check out history. So go and do it. There you go. Long John Nebel, Billy Goodman, and Bill Jenkins. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Kerry Cassidy, Project Camelot. Tomorrow night, Tyler Glockner from Secureteam. Thursday is another Fader night with Teresa Yannares, followed by open lines all night long. I'll be right back with tonight's guest, Kerry Cassidy. Stay with me. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe.
Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's a holiday season with hope in the air. Things to look forward to and no time for despair. Health can be a challenge, and so can the mail. So Get the Tea wants to help you by giving you a sale. Buy 2 months of Super Tea and get 1 month for free. No limit. That's buy 2 months of Super Tea and get 1 month free. That's a savings of $35. Where? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Scroll down on the front page and find the Buy 2, Get 1 free ad. Click it and save. Orders over $100 get free shipping. Send the gift of life. Change tea at GetTheTea.com. We have many non-GMO organic supplements just waiting for you. This holiday season, enjoy health and Thanksgiving with GetTheTea.com. Want to call us? 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. GetTheTea.com is a proud sponsor of doing what's right. That's GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo-3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris.
What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. It's Influencer Week. Last night, Billy Carson. Tonight, it is Kerry Cassidy. Tomorrow night, Tyler Glockner of Secureteam is with us. Thursday night, it's going to be Fader Night. We have Teresa Yannaris here. Divine Frequency on the airwaves, followed by open lines all night long. Tonight, it is Kerry. She is the CEO and founder of Project Camelot. Kerry is a documentary filmmaker, investigative journalist, and is well-known host of Project Camelot TV, broadcasting weekly live shows on YouTube. Kerry is a leader in the alternative media sector with a YouTube channel that has over 60 million unique viewers worldwide and over 218,000 subscribers. She travels the world conducting interviews and documenting the testimony of whistleblowers with above top secret clearances, as well as authors, researchers, and experiencers covering conspiracies, the secret space program, black projects, ETs, Kundalini, and Ascension, and, of course, free energy. She speaks at conferences around the world and is considered one of the leaders of the disclosure movement. And the website, of course, is projectcamelotportal.com. And the links are very simple to get to over at jimmychurchradio.com. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Kerry Cassidy. Kerry, it's been too long. What have you been up to?
Hey, Jimmy, how are you doing?
I am fantastic, Kerry. Hey, a couple of things. Welcome back to the program, and it was great seeing you last week, and that was just fantastic. But I want to go here first, which is this. Who influenced you?
Oh, actually, first and foremost is The Doors.
The Doors. That's a good answer. That's a
Jim
good answer.
Morrison.
Okay.
Jim Morrison. I started out as a poet, and I love Jim Morrison's poetry and the Doors, and that's what really kind of made me want to, I guess, hit the big time and be a so-called star, whatever.
Right. No matter how it came. Right? And it's because you're just creative. You were going to do creative things regardless, right?
Yeah, and because I saw the world through sort of poetic eyes, you might say. And I was a voracious reader as a kid, and I loved mysteries. So anything that was mysterious and hard to figure out, that's what I loved. And I was also aware of other worlds, the unseen worlds, and so was Jim Morrison. He harked back to Rimbaud and other romantic poets, etc. So, yeah, it was really the sort of '60s vibe that was exploring, pushing the envelope, and that was a huge influence on me and my mind, keeping me with an open mind.
Was there a broadcaster or author or researcher that you were reading or interested in? A
broadcaster. It's really funny. Not until Art Bell, probably.
Right.
I was very into music growing up. I wanted to be a rock star.
Right.
And then I wanted to make movies. So I kind of went from one to the other. When I saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I basically thought, okay, this is it. It was like, a revelation. I like stood up in the theater and I just thought, okay, finally, it's out. It's going to be everywhere. Everyone knows now. Little did I know that was kind of the tip of the iceberg. But at any rate, I was a rebel when I was a kid, so I loved James Dean. But as far as radio people, Art Bell was the deal, and I never dreamed I would be doing what Art Bell did and has done. It didn't enter my mind for the longest time. Although when I was a kid, my dad used to do this thing where he would let us talk on this old-fashioned recording machine. Mm-hmm. And I always, really loved that. I was just, I don't know what it is. Maybe you do, because you're, like me, you want to talk over the sound waves and reach people. And so that seemed very important. But I also studied acting, in my 20s in New York City, and was all about that. Then I studied directing. I moved to LA. I wanted to make movies. So, my background is not conventional for this sector, really. Even though I studied the occult, I was very into that. I also was into Kundalini activation. So I was into, things like Gandhi and Hermann Hesse and connecting all my chakras and going into deep meditations and wanting to reach enlightenment.
And that there was a big community in New York that was all about all of that, right?
Well, my time in New York was a strange time, and I was involved in some outside recording studio stuff. I was going up and back to upstate New York, and I was what can I say? I was involved again with music, and so music and acting. I wasn't involved with the community when it came to the occult. I was having visitations at night from beings, and I knew I was being, I had a long history of abduction. I had not clear memories; they were just fleeting memories. But I also went into I had these things where at night I would go to sleep in New York, and I would go into the walk towards a hill in Montauk and disappear inside the hill. And I don't know after that what happened. And then the other thing was I was going to school underground in New York City at night when I went to sleep. So, I mean, very, very unusual sort of stuff. But I knew about Montauk kind of early on, way before Camelot. And I figured that I was being utilized as part of that experiment somehow. And I actually was living in New York and left New York right after Montauk blew up and the thing went crazy in 1983. Mm-hmm. I left New York.
When you speak about these experiences, were they something that when you woke up or started to remember them, were you remembering them as real events, or was it just an out-of-body thing? How were you accepting it in your own mind?
Well, some people will actually know the words to my Jaguar song, if you've ever listened to the whole thing, which is the Camelot theme. Mm-hmm. And it's basically saying there's a jaguar outside my door, stretched out and purring, waiting for more. Strange shade of stone, deep cat-eye green. No way to escape. No one hears my scream. The jaguar in South America symbolizes going into other dimensions. So that's a poem I wrote. And then I turned it into a song. And then later Bill said, hey, why don't we make this our theme song for Camelot in the early days? So that's kind of the trajectory of the song Jaguar. And so in my world, I was always straddling two worlds because I could see, I developed what you call etheric sight. Mm-hmm. Because I meditated a lot and I taught myself, and I was I guess you might say a real investigator. I really wanted to know everything that they wouldn't tell us. So I questioned everything, and I used to get in trouble when I was a kid for questioning adults, talking back to teachers, all of that. So, all I can say is, no, I wasn't part of a community. Actually, I was something of a rebel and doing all of that on my own.
When the Montauk stuff, like you said, it did literally blow up in 1983. When that started to take off and you had your own personal experiences with it, what kind of aha moment did you have? I mean, is it like, oh man, this is real, right? Again, there was no aha moment because I'd been experiencing this stuff since a kid. And I just knew that other people didn't get it. And so I kept a lot of it to myself. Gradually, as I say, when Close Encounters came out and they started talking about the whole ET side of things, I thought, okay, great. Now there's going to be more talk about this. And I mean, I kind of hate to remember this stuff, but, I was going back and forth to Woodstock, and I remember I had some girlfriends who actually referred to me as a kind of ET. I don't even know why, but I always had a lot of knowledge about stuff, and because I read a lot, and most people don't grow up reading a lot, I guess, mm-hmm. unless they're like, nerds, and I wasn't like a nerd kind of person at all. I just I had a lot of knowledge, so I don't know, I don't know if I'm answering your question. Well, no, I totally get it. See, there are, I would assume, because this is my own experience, that when you get a confirmation of something, because you may be asking yourself, is it me? Am I going crazy? Or is this really happening? And then you get something to validate your experience. And that's when you back up and go, okay, wait a minute. Okay, I got to take this a little more serious. So
okay, wait. I'll tell you one thing that happened during those years. I had a whole night in which I was helping a very old man with a very funny mustache and his wife, and I was mainly working with him. And he was transitioning, he was dying. And when I woke up in that morning, I thought, well, that was a very strange sort of dream experience, whatever, because I didn't categorize things in my life. I had, like I said, a ridiculously open mind. If I dreamed it, as far as I was concerned, it could easily have happened, either past, present, or future. So then I went to work and I saw a newspaper, and it said that Salvador Dali had died that night.
Oh, wow.
And I knew that was the man, I even remembered where he was, like before I saw the article, that the man that I was counseling was somewhere in around France or Spain area. And, I just knew it was him. So that's when I got clued into the fact that I was helping, this is something that sort of, you might say, adepts do. It's kind of a normal kind of thing, is to help people transition from death out of this world and kind of get their legs in terms of moving on to other dimensions. So when that happened, I thought, great, that's, a really strong affirmation, right? But, there were lots of small affirmations my whole life. I was very intuitive and very psychic, too. So I kind of knew what was going to happen. Like, I would know if I was going to get fired from a job. I would have a dream the night before. And then when I was in LA, I knew, like, one night I had a dream or type of thing where my car was towed. And I thought, oh, God, I so hope this is not going to be one of my dreams that comes true. Woke up in the morning, went out to get my car, and sure enough, it was gone. This kind of stuff. So I did look at my life in a certain way. I studied science. They gave you these tests in high school, and I would score really high in both science and art. That's a little bit unusual. And so I would apply, like, the scientific method to my sort of wild imagination, call it what you will, dreams, visions, etc. And I would try to see if they would be true, and if so, how. And if they were off, I would try to see where were they off. Did I misinterpret it? Did it not happen? And I've also had I was a precog, so I would, as I say, see things before they happen, and then they would roll out. And that's gone on now since my early 20s at least, where I have seen the future. And even to this day, I do see it roll out. But, I don't talk about it, and I also don't depend on it. I figure we have many timelines. It's also worth knowing that I read the Seth material by Jane Roberts when I was like 12 or something.
Wow.
And I mean, and it made sense to me. I didn't really like it all that well because, I thought she was fabulous, but I thought the idea that we have so many alternative timelines was kind of disappointing.
Why? That's interesting.
It's just because when I was a kid, I wanted to think that this was it. This was the most important timeline going, and that it mattered. I was very passionate. So now I'm more okay with it than I used to be. But what could I say? Seth, Seth gives a really good case. I don't know if you ever read the Seth material.
Absolutely.
All right. Then, he makes a very good case for the fact that we have alternative timelines.
And when you go, I can't imagine. Well, I kind of read Casey when I was like 8, right? So I can maybe understand. There you go. Yeah, I can understand the heaviness of that. But, as somebody that is young and impressionable, and what it did for me, and I'm going to ask you this question. What it did for me was just absolutely told me that nothing is what it seems. And it's certainly not what we are taught and told. And that's what I got out of that. And when you go and read, Jane Roberts and the Seth books, Seth Speaks, what did that do for you? Do you start looking squinty-eyed at everything?
Well, it validated a lot of things that I had hunches on since I was a little kid. And so that was a good thing when I was reading, and I read other literature, though I don't remember it as well, strangely. I couldn't quote you the books. Whereas I could that one. I'm not sure why. I do think that it was quite unique in that it really stressed that we had so many dividing sort of timelines at every decision point. But there is a certain through line as well. And there is a certain timeline, whatever you want to call it, that has more emphasis in our reality. But that I started to realize that it had to do with your focus, and it might have influenced the fact that, I'm not a person who believes in putting somebody in jail and throwing away the key, for example. I'm not a person who believes in punishment. I do remember one year when I was quite young and I found out about Nazi Germany and Hitler, and I did not celebrate Christmas that year. My family didn't know I didn't celebrate Christmas that year, but I vowed to myself that, there was something very wrong with the world. And I was devastated when I found out about that. And so I couldn't believe man's inhumanity to man. And I guess that really affected me. I also should say that my father died. We went to play tennis. He died when I was like 16, I think 16 going into 17. And so I had sort of a rude awakening. I had to grow up after that really fast. So things kind of encapsulated after that. I was going to ask you this. Did your father ever visit you after he passed? It's a strange thing. He might have, but I don't remember. My mother passed when I was much older, and she has visited me. I've seen her. She's on another timeline and so forth. But he, for some reason, is very ephemeral. But I will say one thing. When I was a kid, my grandfather used to live in almost a fairyland in his mind. And he would talk to us about nothing but fairies and elves and other worlds. So having a grandfather like that, he and I were like in perfect, unison. I mean, we would joke and we would talk and it was just delightful. It didn't matter if it was true. It was fun. It made life fun. So he was quite unique in that way. When we come back after the break, we're going to set up some of your history of interviewing. And to help us do that, I want you to think for a second. Do you remember your first interview? Or you want me to answer you now? I love the dramatic pause. Well done there, Kerry. Everybody leaned forward for the answer. What is she going to say? Yeah, who was your first interview? Do you remember? In the conspiracy UFO genre? I think it was Robert Salas. Really? Yeah. And he lives in, I shouldn't say where he lives. He lived not that far from me. And I think I met him at one of the first conferences I ever attended. And I was impressed with him also because of his Native American background. I have probably a little Native American blood somewhere in there because my father seemed to, he brought us through the Southwest when we were little kids, and he give us lectures about how important the Native Americans' culture were. And we learned all about the Hopi and the Navajo. And, I really related to the Native Americans on some intuitive level. My other sister looks even more Native American than I do, and sometimes even acts it. She's kind of a different kind of a person, and so on. So my dad had looked like slightly Native American. He was also Spanish. I think he was what they call Castilian, or he could have even been from the Basque region. I actually now think that he was adopted. I mean, it's a whole long story. I know nobody was bargaining to get on my life story here, but you just sort of asked me these kinds of questions. So anyway, all to say that Native Americans sort of had an influence, and I guess that had to do with why Robert Salas resonated with me, and intuitively I felt he was telling the truth. So I went to his house, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
that which was my next question. Do you? We've got about 1 minute before the break. Have you gone back and listened or watched this interview?
I think it's on Camelot. I think I went back and edited it and then finally put it on Camelot because I think maybe I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then I finally did. I'd have to go look for it right now. You know, I have over 700 interviews on there.
Well, but this is it painful? In that you have grown and developed as an interviewer, over the years, and you go back and watch or listen to your first stuff. And how you have grown and so forth. Is that part of it painful? Because it is for me.
Oh, no, but you were doing a public thing. It's different. I just went into his house with a camera. I was there with him and his wife.
Right.
And I just hope that they didn't think I was, completely inept. My camera was really, really laughable little camcorder thing. And I'm not a technical person, so I'm lucky if I even turned it on. But at any rate, I will say that I studied journalism, formal journalism in college. So I did do stories on people, as a journalist, front page stories for the college paper. So I wasn't, naive in the journalistic sense. And the other thing is that before Camelot, I worked for 20 years in Hollywood. And before that, I was trained as an actress, and I was in a few commercials. I'm not a complete idiot, so I can carry on a conversation. It wasn't rocket science, to be honest. He did most of the work. I can say that I noticed right away that my intuition, my intuitive sense of people was kicking in right then and there. And I think I'd have to go back and listen, but I might have gotten a few things out of him that he didn't necessarily prepare himself to say, which is something I do all the time now. But these were just early signs of stuff. I don't think it's that bad. I think he it's his story, and that's what's actually true of interviews in general. Right. I mean, I do the best I can to draw the person out, but they're the ones on stage, really. They're the ones, on the hot seat, if you want to call it that, and they carry the ball. So he did all the work, really.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight is Kerry Cassidy of Project Camelot, night 2 of our Influencer Week here on Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We're going to pick up where we are leaving off right now. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Kerry is it Project Camelot on Twitter? Kerry?
Yep.
Project Camelot on Twitter. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Come join us for the 2019 Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles at the LAX Hilton. This year, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Chariots of the Gods with Eric Von Daniken, and I'll be hosting the panel with Eric, Linda Moulton Howe, Jason Martell, Billy Carson, and David Wilcock. Join George Norrie, Nassim Haramain, Robert Schock, Damian Brinkley, Grant Cameron, Julia Mossbridge, Teresa Yannaris, and another 50 speakers who will be presenting at the 2019 Conscious Life Expo. Just go to ConsciousLifeExpo.com for tickets and a full conference schedule, or click on the CLE banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Influencer Week here. Last night, Billy Carson. Tonight, Kerry Cassidy of Project Camelot. Tomorrow night, Tyler Glockner of Secureteam. And, of course, Thursday night's Fader Night. Open lines all night long. Tonight, it is Kerry Cassidy. Now, Kerry, you... okay, let's talk about a little bit of history here. You were one of the original YouTubers. You recognized very early on the power of the internet and running an effective website and everything that we all take for granted today. But you guys certainly had the vision on how to utilize social media, which back then was in its infancy compared to now. We've progressed so quickly. How did you handle that back then, and where did the ideas come from to pursue?
Well, I mean, I taught myself film editing and picked up a consumer grade camcorder and decided I was fed up with Hollywood. I couldn't get movies made. I wanted to make sci-fi blockbusters. I was shopping movies to people like the story person for James Cameron, for Ridley Scott, and for Steven Spielberg, to Kathleen Kennedy, for example. Mm-hmm. And I had some great projects. I was already sort of going along the lines. I didn't know it at the time, of course, but I wanted to do basically with what Spielberg did for me with Close Encounters. So that was my motivator. And then when I connected with Bill, I went to, I just started doing a few interviews, and I started making what was in essence a UFO documentary. And Bill was going to be one of my witnesses in that documentary. I heard about the Serpo project. We were on a joint news group that this guy named Victor Martinez had started, and we didn't know at the time, but he was, I think, helped to some degree behind the scenes by the intelligence agencies. At any rate, it had a lot of intelligence agents on it. And hopefully that's not an oxymoron, but at any rate,
right.
We had a lot of journalists on it, and Bill was on it, and had to be invited to join it. I have no idea actually to this day exactly how I got on that list, but I became aware that Bill had volunteered to organize onto a website the Serpo material, and whereas I wasn't interested in Bill at all, because he was simply a webmaster in my eyes, I did see that the people were gravitating towards the Serpo story. And so that year at the, I think it was the Laughlin UFO conference that was happening in either February or March. And when this happened, when I was looking into it, was 2005. It was actually October, November. And so I sent Bill Ryan an email saying, would you like to do an interview? And he said, yes. So I've told this story before. So I walked up with my consumer grade camcorder. I had no crew whatsoever, no lights, no nothing. I said, are you ready for your interview? He kind of looked at me dubiously because he had just done an interview with guys that had all the lights and cameras and bells and whistles, because he was speaking at the conference at that year as the spokesperson for the Serpo project. So I was kind of nonchalant, and I figured, fuck it, if he doesn't want to do the interview, I don't care, because he's a webmaster. And but he kind of warmed to the idea. I had interviewed right before him Bill Hamilton, and Bill Hamilton is a fascinating guy. If you've never heard my interview with Bill Hamilton, it's on Camelot, and I really recommend it. And he was one of my first very early interviews, and we really got into his whole deal, and it was quite fascinating. So I was quite happy after that interview, and that was done like the night before. So that day I interviewed Bill, and what eventually happened, we connected, we went to Tintagel. I had past life recall of the time of Arthur. We were inspired by the Round Table, King Arthur Round Table, and the idea of a utopian society that was not hierarchical. And so we both wanted to get the truth out about the whole ET UFO situation, and we decided to dedicate ourselves right then and there and create a project. Bill was internet friendly in that he could build a website, right? I had actually done that interview with him, and it was actually surprisingly successful. I created a website not knowing what the hell I was doing out of some, how they used to have like these, well, I guess they still have them, where you can kind of make a dummy website and you put in all your own stuff, but you don't really do any coding or anything like that. And so I made my own, and strangely enough, I have no idea why I did this, but I do go with my intuition on things. And I put what in essence is the Montauk horse. I don't know if you ever got into the whole symbolism behind Montauk, but there's a special horse that is symbolic of that project.
Yes.
And strangely, I put that as my logo in the front or whatever of this strange website I created. And then I also had a startup, and I called it I think I called it something like Waking the Dreamer. And it was based on a poem, that title. And anyway, Bill was my first interview on there. And so I kind of, I knew that and I started my YouTube. I also joined YouTube as a director. And because I'd worked in Hollywood and I had actually directed my own short film, that I shot on location. I stole all the locations. I wrote the screenplay. I was already kind of teaching myself everything I could do. And I also, I worked back in those days for a lawyer in Warner Brothers entertainment section that was part of the whole online drive that Warner Brothers was getting into at the time in LA. And so there was lots of techies around me. And so I've always been able to kind of learn by osmosis, and somehow I just paid a lot of attention. And every time something new came along, I tried to teach it to myself. I even tried to teach myself a bit of HTML, but I didn't really like it, so I didn't go very far with it. But I did learn some rudimentary stuff. Anyway, so those were the early days. And then I taught myself film editing. I picked up the consumer grade. When I learned, I had been a photographer, actually, a still photographer. Prior to college, I studied photography. Then I studied it in Santa Cruz with the protege of Ansel Adams. His name was Ted Orland. And he brought me aside. He said there's one time in a teacher's life when they come across a very, very talented person and they, want to help them to move along. So he thought I was going to get into still photography. But I turned to him and I said, actually, I want to make movies, which kind of blew it for him. But at any rate, that's what I did. And then I know this is kind of long-winded, but you're asking. So then Brooke Shields, if you remember the young actress Brooke Shields, she was very young then. She was starring in a movie called Tilt. And Tilt came to Santa Cruz, where I was waitressing as I was in a coffee bar, sort of up this place called the Greenhouse. And I was an extra in the movie. And of course, with my movie background, of course, then I met the producer and the director, and the producer, I had some talks with him, and he basically said to me, he came to the restaurant one day and he said, listen, if you want to go make movies, then you are in the wrong place and you need to pack your bags tomorrow. You need to get the hell out of this podunk town, and go make it in the big time. You need to go to Los Angeles. And so I literally did that. I went home. I told my boyfriend we were breaking up. I said, I'm going and I'm packing my bags, and I think this man is right. I'm wasting my time here. And I don't know, a week or two later, I had found a place to stay in LA and I moved. And then he eventually followed me. We got a house together. We did break up, but that's history.
The early days with YouTube, and this is what if you can correct me, I could be wrong here, but everybody it seemed like there was restrictions, and a lot of it, I'm talking about time, right? The length of videos.
Yep, that's right.
And there, it was bandwidth, and there was lots of other issues there, and getting stuff to stream right. But I remember this is what drew me to your stuff, was that you were like one of the first that I remember that had like full length videos.
Yeah.
How did you? Is that? I'm not wrong, am I? How did you pull that off?
Because I was a YouTube director. I was one of the early. There were only a few of us. I don't know the numbers, but I remember that when they put out the notice, they said, if you'd like to be a YouTube director, you're part of the startup, group, the people that are kind of, I guess, adopting this place, early.
Right.
And so I had studied to be a director in Hollywood. I studied acting. I saw myself as a director, although my actual chops and resume wasn't really so together. But so I wrote to them, I think, and I had also gone to film school, so I had letters of recommendation from places like the major talent agencies, like CAA, Creative Artists Agency, and various places. I'd been a reader in Hollywood. I'd been an independent producer by that time. I was trying to package my own projects, all of this. So I was qualified enough, and they brought me on as a director. It was what you call a director. A director meant that you could have videos. I think there was some kind of limit, but
it was like 10 minutes.
It was like 2 years, 2 hours or more.
Yeah, it was like 10 minutes, right? Everything on YouTube was 10 minutes. Was the maximum, and so you would have to string these videos along and watch them in a row. You know what I mean? They would cut them up, but you had these interviews up there, and I could watch them fully. And you were very early on in that. That was a pretty good. What's the word I want to say? You had a one up on everybody else, and so we could go to you, and you had all of the researchers and the authors that we wanted to hear from, but you had it in full length.
Yeah. Well, also keep in mind that I think we did hit the zeitgeist at just the right time. We were rebels, and we wanted to, in essence, change the world. And we knew that Stephen Greer had written a book, but he had film footage that he wouldn't release because it wasn't Hollywood quality. Mm-hmm. And I just, I kind of came from the MTV generation of, guerrilla, I call it guerrilla filmmaking. I went to film school. I wanted to be an auteur. I believe that, creative vision was everything and all that stuff. So basically, that was my kind of vision. And then when I got with Bill, and we got together to do this project, we decided we would change the world. We didn't know that people would like our stuff, but we knew that we wanted to interview people from above top secret. And of course, I had my consumer grade camcorder, and Mr. X is the first interview we did together. And that was shot down in Southern California at what's called the Integriton, which is actually, it's an amazing energy place now that I, know more than I did back in the day. And right. I can say it's almost fortuitous because that's where Big Rock is. That's where Frank, what's his name? Met with the tall blondes and
George Van Tassel.
Him as well. But no, there's lots of like UFO history in that area.
Absolutely.
And we literally stayed overnight the night before in a tent in Joshua Tree, like in a campground. It was very spooky out there in the desert. I mean, it is like and a whole UFO. I forget the name of the sci-fi movie, but there's a sci-fi movie that was shot there with all those satellite dishes and all those windmills and stuff that look almost so alien. The whole place looks alien, really. So it was very suitable for our first interview. And Mr. X was a legitimate above top secret witness. So somehow we caught the imagination of the people out there. And we did blog, in writing what we were doing, what was coming next. And literally we're traveling the world with a camera, which nobody did. And so we would tell people that we were about to release a such and such interview, and people went crazy. I mean, they were literally waiting on the edge of their seats, like at that time. And we know this for a fact because we get emails like with people saying, when is this coming out? When is this coming out? And one of the people who made us wait the longest after the interview, because you had to have it vetted by the Pentagon, was Pete Peterson. And that month, people just went crazy. I mean, the guy made us wait and wait and wait, and we kept promising it. And I just remember how crazy people got over waiting for that interview. And, we interviewed David Wilcock. He was actually going into hiding when I interviewed him. He came back onto the scene as a result of our interview in many ways. And in fact, that seemed to be the magic of Camelot. We would go to somebody, and I like to look for the ones who people said, oh, they're not true, they're lying, this or that. So in addition to the unknowns, I would always gravitate to somebody that everyone else said was lying. So, and we would turn it around for that person. We would talk to them and interview them and give them those 2 hours of FaceTime on the internet that nobody else got. These were not sound bites. You could really get a feel for the person in those interviews.
How has YouTube changed for you over the years since you were, you were there from the very beginning? And today it's certainly a different animal. How has it changed for you? Do you approach it differently?
Well, it's gotten easier in some ways to reach the audience, but everyone's doing what I did. So everyone does what I do, including you. I mean, it's not unusual anymore. Back then, we were like almost the only game in town. There was a few others. There were some that had come up through, writing articles and things, people like Paula Harris and Linda Moulton Howe. But we were the ones who picked up the camera and really, went at it that way, and also in the avant-garde style that I chose. Mm-hmm. So, that's so common now. It's become the way of the internet and of YouTube. And YouTube is, they've tried to kick me off a couple times. They gave me strikes because I interviewed people about false flags. And if you say the word false flags, they'll throw you off YouTube. I mean, the place has become very crazed, like censorship alley, really. And so you do have to watch it now, what you do and what you say. This whole nonsense about conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists, that sort of bad mouthing of that notion. And yet, when 2 or more people get together to plan anything, it can be called a conspiracy.
That's right.
And that's going on every minute of every day around the world. And if those particular people happen to be members of intelligence agencies, members of the military, members of governments, then you get into a whole new, land. And it is a conspiracy. And our lives are run by conspiracies as far as I'm concerned. So YouTube has become kind of a minefield in a way. It's also, we've had people go back in and test to see if you're getting the number of hits that you think you're getting, and finding out that YouTube is also fudging those results, lying about the number of, to keep us down, to keep certain channels down because they don't want you to go as far as you could. They throw things like roadblocks in your way to screw with you. Mm-hmm. One of the latest things they've done, I don't know how recently they did this, but it's not enough to subscribe to somebody's YouTube. Now you have to fucking push. Sorry.
Yeah. No bad language. Beep, beep.
You have to freaking push a bell to tell them to send you notices when they go live and when they, come on, like another step. So, you work so hard to get subscribers and you work so hard to get, viewers and all of that. Mm-hmm. And they take 45% of your revenue from ads, and that's way too much. They don't do fuck all.
Okay, easy now, Kerry. I've got a lot of kids that listen to this show. So
get like 10%, like what an agency gets. They're 15% max. I mean, get a grip.
Right.
YouTube's listening, and I hope they are. Well.
No, they might be, but this does broadcast out on iHeartRadio too as well. Now I've got to go back and clean everything up, but that's okay. See, I don't know about a whole lot of that kind of stuff when it comes to YouTube. Listening to you talk about it is it's pretty surprising to me. We don't use YouTube is like 0.1% of our listenership. Right. It's very, very small. We only use YouTube to archive. That's it. And so I don't pursue subscribers. I don't know how many subscribers we have. I don't, I have no idea about the social part of it. I do know I'm up on what happened to Alex Jones and what is breaking in the news and everything else. But for us, it's such a small part of what we do.
Yeah, but that's only because you got onto what is that, mainstream radio?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't let me on mainstream radio. You do know that.
Oh, that's not true.
Yeah, we're about to find out. Someone thinks they're going to offer me that. Listen, this is a fact. Haven't you noticed that I don't speak at Contact in the Desert or any of these other venues where you're speaking lately?
Well, is that by
I'm
choice?
Persona non grata. I am Miss Dangerous. I am the one who knows too much. And I was told that recently by a couple sources.
But is that by choice that you don't speak at these events? I mean, I saw you.
I've had people go, pitch hit for me, try to get me recruited to be able to speak at these things. They are afraid of me. They really are afraid.
Why do you think that's true?
Because I tell it like it is.
Well, we know that,
and I also have an ability to move people. I mean, people come up to me all the time and say to me, "You are the real thing." And what they mean is there is a lot of posers out there. And, so there are a lot of people doing what I do, but there are also a lot of people misleading the public, not really asking the good, hard questions, not really digging in to see what's really going on with the witnesses. Look, I had Terry Lovelace on my show. I sent you a message about it.
That's right.
The fact is, that night, after he got off my show, he got some kind of sudden, I don't even know what it is, growth, like a basketball or baseball size thing. He had to be rushed to the hospital. He's recovering. It looks like maybe they didn't kill him. He was told literally by the ET that came into his living room right before he published his book, your government's going to kill you, or, well, my hosts are not very happy either if you publish your book. And, I read his book, but I also go into some of the things that I knew were in the book that they are going to try to downplay and that other interviewers might not bring to light, but I know where the goods are buried. I know where the gold is hidden in their hills, so go ahead, ask me.
It's just interesting how today, how different people approach social media that do influence and that have a large fan base and a lot of influence out there. And so we're going to take a break right now. But when we come back, I want to know some of your secrets and how you do approach social media, because now when you influence so many, you can change minds in a nanosecond. And it's an interesting time that we live in. So let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight is Kerry Cassidy, Project Camelot. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Tomorrow night, I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, Tyler Glockner of Secureteam is here on night 3 of Influencer Week on Fade to Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. And last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too.
Just click on the Numanna banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Kerry Cassidy, Project Camelot, is with us. Night 2 of Influencer Week here on Fade to Black. And she has been influencing for a long time. And Kerry, before we get into social media, and I do want to discuss this, it's such an important topic. But when you first started, did you have any idea that in 2018 we would be discussing how you have influenced the community for so long? Did you have any idea?
No, not really. I mean, I've always planned to change the world. So in that sense, I kind of studied to figure out. I mean, in college, I studied social change. That was my major. I was interested in influencing people from a young age. I thought I would do it through making movies, and before that, being a rock star. But, I wanted to change the world. I took a look around here when I was a little kid and said, okay, that's it. This place needs to change big time. And so, I guess I didn't know how I would get there. And I think it's kind of amazing the trajectory that I was on, because it was so unconventional, and I don't know, it's very weird. But no, I had no idea. We had no idea that Camelot would be so popular, and that I didn't know that donations would keep me alive all these years later. And I make money off of advertising on YouTube and donations, and that is about it. So, that's it.
And when you look back, you had just mentioned, 700 interviews. Is there somebody that you didn't get a chance to interview that maybe is no longer with us? Or is there somebody out there that you would like to interview that you haven't?
Well, there are a lot of people out there that I'd like to interview and haven't and have tried. I want to interview Julian Assange. I want to interview Edward Snowden. I want to interview Bobby Ray Inman. I want to interview
Bobby Ray Inman.
The list goes on.
Right.
And, the head of MJ12, the real head of MJ12, not some guy who's out there saying he is, so on and so forth. So, and I'm happy to interview more than just alien human hybrids, which is just the norm as far as I'm concerned, because we're all alien human hybrids. And as far as the ones that got away, Arthur C. Clarke.
Right.
We tried to get an interview with him right before he died. I like to think that they didn't kill him so we couldn't interview him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I can't be sure of even that. I'm very happy I got in there to interview William Tompkins before he died. They told him basically he couldn't speak to me, and shortly after that he died. What can I tell you? It's a wild playing field out there, but sure, there's ones that got away. There may be a few others that died.
Now, social media today, and I look back like we all do, to 1995, 1994, and what the internet was back then, or the lack of the internet, and what it has developed into today. We have to approach things very methodically, and you have a very large social footprint out there. How do you approach it? Are you on Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, and so do you?
Jimmy, you mean you're not my Facebook friend?
I don't even follow that stuff anymore.
That's
I know.
Just disappointing.
I can check.
I mean, to be honest with you, I don't use social media like some people do to tell people that I just went jogging and I'm really glad.
That's what I use it for.
I don't use it for personal reasons. I use it for publicity. I see it as a publicity tool, and that's how I use it. And if people talk to me on Facebook various things, Twitter, for example, is a great way to reach me. Twitter messages behind the scenes, so I'll notice it because my email is always inundated, and I miss a lot on email. But I use everything I can get my hands on, more or less. Although I don't bring on a lot of sort of obscure stuff. And it does drive me crazy. I mean, there's so much out there, but I'm very thankful for it, because without it, I couldn't stay alive and I couldn't reach the people. So I use it as a way to reach the people.
And what about Twitter? Do you approach that differently?
No, again, it's not personal. It's public. Every once in a really great while, I'll post. If you pay attention to my Facebook, I will occasionally, like, there's a picture of me and my boyfriend.
Right.
In Yosemite. I mean, that's a very rare kind of thing you'll ever see. But just out of exuberance and having fun during the summer or something, I might have posted that. But generally, if you look in my whole history of posts, I mean, there's very little about me personally. It's always about my shows.
And do you think, I kind of know your answer to this, knowing you, but do you think that there is a cabal type of conspiracy with the social media companies to censor and to clamp down, where they are working together, not necessarily individually, but like what happened with Alex Jones, to have all of that go down and within a few hours of each other? It certainly seems to me that they were all FaceTiming, right, and discussing what they were going to do in advance. Do you think that really goes on?
Absolutely. I mean, somehow they get a notice. I don't know how. I do think they have intelligence agencies working for them, for one thing, that are embedded, if you want to call it that. The fact is that if your name is James Fetzer, you get a red flag no matter where you go nowadays because of his emphasis on false flags and because he's such an amazing scholar, an ex-Marine, and a college professor that's written, I don't know, some astronomical number of books, over 10, and he documents everything with incredible research, and they're scared to death of him. So they, that's why I got flagged 2 or 3 times, almost got my YouTube channel removed. But if he toes the line, like I actually did another interview because I have a tendency to kind of bait the tiger, so to speak. And so I did an interview after all of that with him, but he didn't talk about anything controversial. We didn't go into the mind control Manchurian candidate aspect of, Vegas or all these different, latest things that are going on. I mean, they are really afraid of their modus operandi has now been discovered, and that false flags are kind of like their biggest calling card. That's the way they keep the population cowed, afraid, is by, and now the latest way they're doing it is through weather wars and, then the fires in California and, and the hurricanes. They're always making hurricanes and directing them, at people and at areas of the United States that they want to take down. I mean, this is a whole ongoing war as far as I'm concerned. And yes, social media is right in the thick of it.
What about
I know
Google?
Certain people that write for Veterans Today, like Preston James, who's a fabulous writer and writes some very fascinating articles. You cannot post a link to his articles. They will not allow it. I mean, the guy is frickin' banned from Facebook. And all he's done is written articles, perfectly legitimate researched articles, very intelligent. And, it is a war out there. There's no doubt about it. And the fact that I've survived this so far, maybe because I'm the, don't kill the messenger, I'm the interviewer. I don't know, so far so good, but it's very, it can be very dicey. And I mean, I've been told our website is banned in countries. We've got 3 URLs now to reach us by because, Germany bans us. I mean, I've gotten reports from people, lots of places ban us. So it's projectcamelot.tv, projectcamelotportal.com, and projectcamelot.org. And hopefully they haven't banned us under all those URLs, but you never know.
Why do you think?
It's desperate. I mean, I got stopped and searched in the UK airport and right in front of everyone. All the terrorists got to walk free that day, but I was searched.
It was your jacket. But see, this is the thing. Is it the content in general, or is it conspiracies, or is it the knowledge of UFOs? Is there a subgenre down here that is causing the issues that they're interested in?
No, because keep in mind you can't sort of take someone to task or do a trial on a UFO subject. That's why Gary McKinnon never went to real trial. He was tried under the fact that he supposedly had Asperger's. And, in other words, they never let him admit into evidence the fact that he had actually found evidence of UFOs and fleet-to-fleet transfers and off-world officers, lists of officers. I mean, get real. No, that's the one loophole that when it changes, I will be public enemy number one, because you're not allowed to talk. Look, they can't take you to court over a UFO case. Now, in England, they do have an antiquated law that lets them take kids away from their parents who admit to dealing with ETs.
Yeah, I've heard that. But what I find interesting is with the ability for Google and the NSA to censor, monitor, block, and control web traffic, but yet WikiLeaks manages to run unscathed and do these document dumps. So I've always wondered how Julian Assange is able to keep things running over there. If you wanted to run interference, I mean, WikiLeaks.
Well, he's not dealing with UFOs for one thing, but on the other hand,
he has
not much. The bottom line is that he's being fed by certain intelligence agencies, and the Zionist side of Israel. Don't forget that's a big sort of foot in the pond, so to speak, and. So it's a complex game, but this stuff is going on. You can you want to look for censorship and you want to follow the sort of threads and the clues. It's there, believe me.
Oh, I've watched
the way they censor me, not only by not letting me speak at major conferences, I have to have my own. But aside from that is by screwing with my technology, no matter what I do. One time I had Linda Moulton Howe on my show. The last thing they want is for two people like us to talk to each other. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't believe the interference on that show. And, from day to day, my technology doesn't change. It stays the same. Right. So when they really want to interfere, I've had them knock people completely off YouTube and close my channel, like the whole thing come down. And there's no way this can happen without them shooting a pulse at your computer. So they're always there. They're always monitoring. And in fact, over the years, it's gotten so they wouldn't even have trouble with my guest, but they would interfere with every other word I said. It's been crazy. I've monitored this for years. And all I can tell you is you're not paranoid when they're really out to get you.
Well, you've been pushing for disclosure from, virtually day one. And
yes.
your covering of all of this. 2018 was a pretty dramatic year when we went, and going back to December of 2017, it goes without saying, with the New York Times and CNN and Fox and the coverage that went global. It seemed like we were making something was tangible suddenly. How do you feel about that?
They have changed their approach. They have changed their approach because now there is evidence that certain ET groups have had it, that they want humans to wake up and to know that they're there, first of all. And two, the gloves are off. There's a certain point a couple years ago, not too many, when the Satanists decided to just come out as who they are, and they were proud of it. And they frickin' have. And so, this stuff is now coming out more and more. And look, the deep space program, the secret space programs with an S, but mainly the one run by the U.S. and the Five Eyes, and Russia's in there as well. Look, they're dealing with problems that are much bigger than, humans like me and you, or somebody out there telling the truth to other humans. They're dealing with off-world cultures now and AI, to say nothing about artificial intelligence coming from aliens, all right, coming to our planet. Their playing field has gotten so much more complex. And the bottom line is they need all the help they can get. And I think that, in the process of eliminating a good part of the sort of useless eaters, as they call them, which they are obviously hell-bent to do, turning this into a methane-rich, radiation-rich environment, making it home much more friendly to reptilians and grays. They are in the process of trying to weed the wheat from the chaff. And if you can handle this atmosphere, then they want you, they want your genetics, they want your kids, etc. They want the strongest to survive, as always. So this is the game being played, and
why would the New York Times?
Disclosure is part of that game. It's not, disclosure isn't just some president coming out on major TV and saying, yes, they're here. Disclosure, first of all, is what we're doing right here. But secondly, disclosure is also happening on the ground with the ETs, and they're getting closer and closer to the surface. The war is becoming more and more obvious, and in the wars in the fires in California, as Mark Richards has said, there are, vortexes opening and various beings are trying to come through. They try to close the vortexes. They've got collateral damage. They need to make some kind of misdirect. There's all kinds of crazy shit going down.
Okay, we got to watch the foul language, Kerry. You're going to make...
Well, you're
going to get me kicked off of...
edit me a few more times.
Okay.
When the bleep happens, I guess they're just going to laugh.
Okay, so, but staying on disclosure, why would the New York Times suddenly take an about face? And the other thing, and so I want you to address the New York Times directly, but also it seemed like Fox, CNN a little bit, BBC a little bit, but Fox took the ball and ran with it. Why, they weren't giggling or playing X-Files music anymore. Why that kind of about face so quickly?
Because they got the directive from the people that run them. I mean, the New York Times is totally run by the CIA and NSA and everyone else. They have to cater to these people.
So you don't think
they got their marching orders. They were told what to do. That's not disclosure anyway. The Tic Tac and all of this. These are sanitized stories. Okay.
Right.
Even the recent Bob Lazar coming forward, he was tasked to come forward. There's no two ways about it. The guy has denied interviews and not wanted to talk about this stuff for ages. Suddenly he makes a movie. Seriously. Bottom line, even you could tell that he's still pretty much unwilling. But you should have listened to my show with John Lear. I told you we had a great time on that show. That was his birthday show. And I asked him all about Bob Lazar and what he said on that movie, etc. And he basically blew that film out of the water.
How so?
Because he said that Bob Lazar not only met one alien, he's met several.
And Bob said in the movie, I think it was just a doll, right? Right.
Yeah. That supposedly his mind is so wiped at this point. Look, he admitted that his mind has been wiped. He admitted this to John Lear. He said he didn't want to go back to work for these people. He quit because they were wiping his mind. If he denies that story, it's because he's in the payroll, back on the payroll. It's not like he never was. He went back on the payroll anyway between now and when he was first working for them. I mean, and John also said, which is, I think, fairly explosive, that they planned that Lazar was going to be their fall guy from day one. They hired him for that purpose. They hired him. Yes, he had the technical specs. Yes, he was, a freaking technical genius. He was also a contactee. There's no way you're going to ever convince me otherwise. And, he's not talking about all that. I mean, the story has not been revealed in its true colors. But I can tell you, John, John's getting older. He's a loose cannon. He worked with MJ12. I used to kid John all the time. I said, "You're MJ12, aren't you, John?" He didn't deny it.
I wanted to
wait. Have I gotten you speechless, Jimmy? Because that would be a first.
No, not at all. There's so many questions here. Obviously, we all wondered why Bob would suddenly come forward. There's the simple side of it, right? The logical side where one would say that he's old friends with Knapp. He wants to throw Jeremy Corbell a bone and get Bob to agree to do a documentary for Jeremy, and they could go.
Not such a good thing.
Well, that's the easy way.
I'm not supposed to tell tales about a school, but I'm not going to, say a whole lot. But I'll just say that let's just say that Jeremy was seen for who he really was by at least John Lear and friends.
Okay. Well, I don't know where you're going with that.
Maybe he's lucky he's not being sued.
Who? Jeremy or
Jeremy Corbell
is not being sued. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I'm sure Jeremy, he may be listening now, but he will listen to the replay of this show, certainly.
And by the way, if he is, I'm inviting you for an interview, Jeremy.
Oh, you want his number?
Sure. You can give me that back channel. But, whenever you give me someone's number, they never call back.
Why do you think? Is it because they're scared?
Yeah. Because they are scared. It's okay. I get it. I mean, look, I do push the envelope. I think that people can handle the truth. In fact, I think they need it desperately. Right before I came on the show, I was listening to Rich Dolan interview David Jacobs. I've invited David Jacobs for an interview a zillion times. No reply. Now, I don't know if that means that they don't want to do an interview or that my email never arrives, because I know both those cases happen.
Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, I have to tell you, in his scenario, and his scenario is not completely correct, but it is very, very good. He basically is talking about the progress of the gray human hybrid program and the takeover of planet Earth. I mean, they walk among us. That's his book. Don't listen to me. Don't believe me. Watch my latest interview with Terry Lovelace. Talk about what he saw in the aquarium, the wall-sized aquarium that had what he thought were puppies that turned out to be genetically engineered, hybrid beings, floating around in some pink stuff. I mean, and lots of them, not just a few. This stuff is real. And and why people want to hide their heads in the sand, other than the fact that they've been programmed day and night by their television, their fluorescent lights, their food, their water, and every other device known to man that these people and aliens can think up, and had their minds wiped also when they get abducted. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, what I'm talking about, Jimmy.
Well, I do understand that. And what I try to do, and this is just me, I'm just going to say this for 30 seconds because this is about you, Kerry, tonight. But what I try to do is collect as much of this out there, like you have been doing, and get it all out there on the table for everybody to listen to, because I think that there is little pieces of everybody's experiences and witness and testimony and research that collectively we're going to get closer to the answer. I don't know what those answers are, but the audience needs to hear everything.
Let's say we have a big frickin' clue. I mean, at this point, this is where I differ from the rest of you. I am willing to add 2 and 2, and you guys are not.
Who's you guys?
In your own mind. No, just let me kind of have my say here, okay? Because, the bottom line is, yes, we all see the evidence out there. We all listen to the testimonies, and the testimonies are just, gargantuan at this time. We have people from every walk of life. Terry Lovelace kept quiet for 40 years. He's a lawyer. He was in the Air Force when it happened to him. Mm-hmm. The bottom line is that people are telling the truth. We are the truth tellers of the planet, the people. And I do nothing but talk to the people day in and day out, as you do. Okay. And at a certain point, even if you were in a courtroom, the evidence would begin to mount up, and you would eventually go in a certain direction towards a verdict. You would suddenly, to some degree, see the writing on the wall. And our military has no choice but to do that. And of course, they have to see the negative side of things. They have to prepare for the worst. And the worst may be worse than you even imagine. That's what I've been told by whistleblowers, okay? That it's even worse than we imagine. So it's not fairyland out there. And humans are being killed, abducted, children are being raped and taken for their blood and organs, etc. And slave colonies have been taken off planet Earth. This is happening to your fellow man. Now, in Nazi Germany, would you just sit by and say nothing and say, well, all the evidence isn't in yet?
Right.
Bullshit.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
And I know you're going to have to take out the second part of that word. Seriously, on modern radio today, you can't even swear?
Yeah.
I mean, are they really that lily white? Well, I don't know.
Well, no, but the kids listen. Kerry, kids listen to this show too. Okay, so we got to respect
swear
it.
Up and down. What are you kidding? You can learn better swear words from them than I know.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight is Kerry Cassidy, potty mouth sailor. Kerry Cassidy, having a great conversation tonight. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com, dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Kerry at Project Camelot. It's right there. We've got it up in Twitter. And what was that, Kerry?
No, I was just coughing.
Oh, you were coughing. Cough button. I want to talk about John Lear. You just did a recent interview with him, and it goes without saying that I have watched your part 1, part 2, part 3 with John that you did so many times, and there was a lot of history that went down in those sessions that you did before, but you just recently interviewed him. I want to discuss that, but how, for you, has John changed over the years?
I don't know. You know, he seems kind of the same guy I've always known. He's one thing about John that I've always admired is he will stick to his guns, and sometimes he will be slightly irrational about certain things that he's reached his own conclusion on. But if you bring him good information, good new evidence, he will actually sit and listen, and he will change his mind. He doesn't have to stick to his guns. He's not like a fanatic in terms of anything, I don't think. Maybe good whiskey or something. He's basically the same guy, the same wise ass, joking, man about the world. I mean, he's a movie star. That's what John is. He's everything every movie star ever wanted to be. That's John Lear.
Did you leave that with the first set of interviews that you did? Was there stuff that didn't get into those interviews on the cutting room floor?
Nope. You have to understand how Camelot works. It's part of the reason my interviews are so long. Basically, unless a person badmouths somebody, in which case they'd be open to, I don't know, libel or something of that nature, in which case we would take out the name. We didn't edit out things. All we did was try to put in, make it have continuity, try to make it clear. But by and large, the reason the interviews are so long is because they're pretty much as long as they were when we did them. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there's very little taken out ever of Camelot interviews. And nowadays, I prefer to go live. I prefer to be in a live atmosphere because I don't have anything to hide. And I do want to know everything. And I figure that if I'm coming from that standpoint, that the witness, the person I'm interviewing senses it and they feel comfortable. In the end of the day, all humanity, we're in this together. And we need to tell each other the truth. I mean, we really do. And on the level of the people, I'm not working for some clandestine organization, and I'm not working for a government, but I am working for the people. And I'm all about seeing humanity succeed.
When you interviewed John, and you've done so many interviews, right? But when you're interviewing John, was there a moment where you just went, okay, that's a holy crap moment right there, even for you? Because I had a few with those first 3 interviews.
It's a lot of water under the bridge, so it's hard for me to remember that kind of thing. But I can tell you that you have to understand, again, kind of put yourself in the headspace that I already was when I started doing interviews. I already took on the whole thing. I have had very little aha moments along the way, to be honest. Once in a while, there have been a few, maybe when Henry Deacon told us he'd been working on Mars, going there for lunch, coming back through a jump room. There's a few where you go, all right, well, I'm going to have to take this on board. This is a bit much, bit wild. But John, now you don't have to always agree with John. Not everything he says is necessarily can you take to the bank. keep in mind that he's playing a careful game. He's a showman. He tells you, you know, what he believes. He's a straight shooter, so he goes with his gut. He kind of, that's how he deals with you. Like when he, just on my interview, just, you know, like last week, was it, during his birthday, literally on his birthday. He said that thing about they used Bob from the very beginning. You know, he's not saying that because he thinks it. He's saying it because he frickin' knows it. I didn't swear, Jimmy.
No, no, you didn't, and thank you for that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So all I'm saying is that.
Well, no, let me stop you there for a second.
He's very wily.
Yeah, let me stop you there for a second. Did he have the feeling in 1990 that Bob was being used? I mean, or is this something that he has, you know, morphed into over the years?
Well, let me just say this, that John, if you look at his history of his, oh God, I forget who it is because I often get it mixed up, but I guess his, you know, his father was working for MJ-12. His mother was the girlfriend of Jimmy Doolittle or whoever the hell it was. And, you know, I mean, he tells these stories. You know, he grew up in it. You know, he grew up in this. And he was a wild boy. He was, you know, flying for the CIA. Look, I went to his birthday party last year. This year, they wouldn't let me in. They said it's because I was filming, but I was filming for John, and I swore that I would never release the film. It's just, I give it to John if he wanted a recollection of, you know, people in his life. But those people didn't want me back, supposedly. I'll tell you the truth. They don't want me back because there were people in that room that I'm not supposed to know about. You know, John has some very high level friends. And I'll tell you, you want to know what was a great moment with John? It was actually more recently than you're realizing. You know, we went back like a year, or I think maybe 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly. Time just goes so fast, and did a whole long interview with him. It was like 3 or 4 hours again. Recently, like, you know, like I said, a year or two ago. And that's a great interview. And in the middle of that interview, I had just been to visit, well, one person I'm not naming because he's a high-level scientist that I'm not supposed to be disclosing things about. And the other one was Mark Richards in prison. So from there, I drove to John to his birthday, and we did an interview. I think it was the day before the birthday. And we couldn't stop him from talking. He was going on and on. It was amazing. But one thing I did was during that interview, I told him what Mark said about the spiders in Vietnam, the spider beings that were the size of VWs, according to Mark Richards. And John, on camera, got that information for the first time, and you can see his legitimate reaction. And it's priceless. And I never I thought John was just going to blow it out of the water and say, oh, he's full of it or whatever. No, he just said right away, he was like, oh my God, this is it. Because his whole life, you know, he was in the Vietnam War and all of that. He always wanted to know the real reason behind the Vietnam War and never bought the party line. So when he heard that, he just couldn't, he just was totally ready for that information. And that was, I think, with John, of all the times I've been with him, that was the most surprising to me because I really didn't know he would take that on board. I just told him because I thought, it'd be fun to see his reaction.
Was there anybody that, not to get off of John, we'll come back to this, but is there anybody over the years that you interviewed and you were okay with, but then as time went by, that you started to maybe doubt the story or the level of trust went away and maybe you didn't interview them again?
Bill Ryan? No, just kidding.
Oh, beep, beep.
No, seriously, no, I love Bill. We may have some issues, but nonetheless, he was a very good partner in Camelot, as far as that went.
But I'm talking about whistleblowers.
People that I have through the years thought were a bit more legitimate than they are. God, that's a really hard one. It'd be easier if you kind of rolled off a certain list, because you got to remember that, and you've been doing this now. I think you've done even more interviews than I have, maybe. I don't know. It's really hard. I have to say, by and large, that that's not the case. That most of the people that I evaluated at the time, did the interview, had the sense of how much they were telling the truth and how much falsity was in there. Because, bottom line is, people don't realize is that, first of all, I don't believe everything I'm told. And second of all, people do not tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. They tell you what they can tell you without getting killed, without having their family members killed, etc. We did, and I've said this before, but we did an interview with Nick, I think it's Nick Pope, is that his name? The British guy who was head of the sort of UFO desk in Britain for Ministry of Defense.
Right.
And we shelved it. We never published it, and he got mad at us over that.
Why did you shelve it?
Never forgave us for that, because we couldn't get the guy to leave the party line for 5 seconds during that interview. So the whole thing was nothing but, politically correct nonsense. So, sad to say, he was, he's an apologist for them. Now, he's come out recently, I hear, trying to tell a little bit more truth. The one thing that was interesting about him is that he did write some sci-fi books that were closer to the truth, but you could never get him on camera to, even come close to sort of dropping some truth here and there. I mean, the whole thing was just bullocks. So we just turned to each other and just said that was a waste.
You said you said earlier, and I wrote this down, and I want to get back to it. You said earlier that you know where the bodies are buried. Right? Now, are you suggesting that there is stuff out there that isn't even on Project Camelot that you can't talk about? Is that what you're...
Yeah. We have been threatened. We investigated a case. Let me see how far I can go on this one. We investigated a case that, we flew out. It took us airfare and all kinds of stuff. And basically, we found out that if we said anything, we were told that these very nice people, that actually one of which had become a friend, that they and their families would not survive. So we had to just shut up about it. Let me see. I think I can say this much.
It was a UFO case?
Yes, because ultimately it had to do with a release of information that was telling the real truth about some of the things that went on during Roswell. But it actually had to do with James Jesus Angleton.
And
he knew where the bodies were buried.
And literally.
Literally.
Yeah, right. But that was over 70 years ago.
Well, yeah, but this is, isn't this rule by secrecy funny? They have certain areas where they don't want the real truth to come out.
Right.
Things like, well, I mean, it's out there. It's out there that Hitler didn't die. It's out there that he went down to, that the Nazis are in Antarctica. It's out there that, that Pearl Harbor, that they knew ahead of time, and that Churchill warned them, and that they knew there was going to happen, and the Japanese attacked and they let them kill Americans. I mean, this stuff is out there, but, the people that really know it, you know what I'm saying? I'll tell you, Mark Richards is in prison because he knows where the bodies are buried. He knows so much, it's ridiculous.
Well, and I guess what I'm referring to is, are you ever going to reveal where the bodies are buried? Not necessarily where the bodies are buried, but some of this information that you just, can't talk about for whatever those reasons are.
Very little, I'll tell you, because even the way I release information is kind of creative. Sometimes I do it. For example, I do this yearly conference in England, and if you come in person, they only allow, what do we have, 112 or 115 seats. It's very intimate. I say things in there that don't go on to the film necessarily, that people get told. I allude to stuff. If you listen to me, if you ever hear me speak publicly, I say things, I drop hints about things. But by and large, everything, almost everything we've ever been told is out there in one form or fashion, or it's even come out somewhere else, and I just know it's true, that kind of thing. So I wouldn't say that that we're sitting on a bunch of special knowledge of any kind, because this is why, they don't recruit me because I'm working for the people first and foremost. So I'm going to tell them, you basically have to kill me. At the end of the day, to shut me up.
And how do you? And let's kind of wrap with this, since we're talking about influencing, and that in that context, because you do have a very large audience out there. But then what comes with that? Critics. All of us have to develop techniques and certain amount of thick skin to deal with it. How do you deal with it, and what's the best way to combat?
Well, any public person has to deal with these kinds of things. You have to deal with attacks. You have to deal with people who try to find out where you live and want to, track you and all of this. I have to deal, if you tell the truth, you have to deal with the attacks from the powers that be, which they do with, a lot of enthusiasm. The people on the internet that want to badmouth me, it's interesting because since the beginning of Camelot, I was the one they love to hate, so to speak. And at first, that was actually kind of off-putting and surprising. But then I sort of got it. The bottom line is actually something that was true in my life, not, before I ever went public, is a sense of knowing that people hate. They hate the fact that I actually talk like I know. I am honestly, if I know something, I'm going to say it. And I believe humans do know. I don't believe we just believe. I don't believe we just think or we gather information and then maybe we kind of know something. And I also don't believe in authorities. I don't believe in doctors or any of those kinds of people. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're just like anybody else. And a lot of them are full of it. So, because my authority doesn't come from other humans, and because I actually, when I know something, I've done this experimental thing I told you about in the early part of the interview where I kind of have tested myself to see, does it prove to be correct? Mm-hmm. And I'm not married to, what do you want to call this? Proof, what people call proof. What people call proof is nonsense. 9 times out of 10, it's a written document you can fake, like Obama's birth certificate, by the way. It's a photograph you can fake. It's a testimony that can be faked. So I decided a long time ago, it's kind of like Einstein says, the real measure of intelligence is imagination. To me, imagination is key. It's king. Consciousness is king. So I'm not worried about, the things that people pull out of conventional reality and try to deal with these things that are so secret and so above the norm. I mean, there's a certain person out there who thinks they're going to out a certain witness of mine. and I'm not going to give him any publicity here, but I will say that it's shocking how naive this person's brain is. And it's shocking how they actually deal in consensus reality. But you cannot deal with the UFO, alien, off-planet worlds, interdimensional worlds, the true nature of what it is to be human, and use conventional reality. I mean, this is bogus. Even physicists will tell you, whatever is solid in front of you, whether it's a wall or a table, it's not really solid.
Right.
And if you match the vibration like men who stare at goats, you can walk through a fucking, you can walk through a freaking wall.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, I'm passionate, but this is the reality that we live in. People like to think it's different. People like to think they get up every day, they go to work, and they come home and they watch TV and go to bed. That's their lives.
Right.
I mean, they think that's life. They think watching football is life. It's not. Okay. It's way more complex than that. And we are way, way, way more complex than that. And as far as I'm concerned, we can beat AI. And I know that people are fond of, they're always intimidated by stuff. They've been taught it's a programming. It's a programming to think that everyone is above you who has a college degree or has whatever kind of degrees or whatever medical or this or that. And the bottom line is they're just programmed. And the bottom line is that if you go off planet, it doesn't even apply. And you cannot deal with off-planet intelligences using the same paradigm that you have here on Earth. It doesn't work. It's never going to work. We're far beyond that. And we come from out there as well. And when you think like I think, then, working in conventional reality it's beyond stupid. It's pathetic is what it is. And so, yeah, people get pissed. The question was, why do people get pissed at me? And I trigger them. I trigger them to actually look at themselves and realize that no one, I don't care if it's an alien, I don't care if somebody walks in here and considers themselves God, and people write to me all the time, tell me they're God or Jesus or the devil or whatever. People have all kinds of ideas, but the bottom line is that you can only know in your soul of souls, you know what I mean? The truth. And once you realize it, once it hits you, that's it. What can I tell you? I think you have to keep an open mind from then on. I think you have to continue collecting the evidence, even though you've reached a good conclusion, but the bottom line is that we are way more than this conventional reality gives us credit for. I'm about that. That interests me.
You just triggered me. So you're going to stay on to do some overtime. So you just stay right there. There's no way we're going to end right now. It can't happen that way, Kerry. That's it. So just stay right there. We'll continue this conversation. I'm watching Twitter. It's on fire. Thank you for that. And we'll be right back. Kerry Cassidy, Project Camelot. We're going to do some overtime. Stay with us.
And you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tappy.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Kristen, Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Kerry Cassidy, Project Camelot, doing some overtime. So you know what that means. I'm going to go right there. I want my questions answered now. I'm gonna go a little direct here on a few things. One, Kerry, is that when we talk about disclosure, and I interface with an awful lot of people. You were talking about conferences, and I do a lot of public speaking. I do a lot of questioning, and what I have found out is that disclosure is different to everybody. But one thing that I can definitely deduce is that when somebody says, including myself, I don't need disclosure. I've seen what I've seen. I've got my own stuff. I don't need it. And then I will get the boos. Whatever disclosure to everybody in a general concept is the president stepping up on live television and announcing that we are not alone, right? That and until that happens, there is no disclosure. For you, what's the definition of disclosure? What would you accept as true disclosure?
Well, like I say, I think we're disclosure. So we're disclosing to each other every day. We're discovering the truth about what's really been going on all around us, and the so-called controllers and the alien contingent, etc., is all part of that. But sure, it's nice to have so-called members of government. Let's see, Paul Hellyer, he was a pretty high up official, but that's not good enough for people. I mean, it's interesting. I think even, who was it? Well, Reagan certainly hinted at it, or more than hinted at it. Ben Rich said, we have the technology to take ET home. And he said a lot of other things as well. He really came as close as you can frickin' come and be someone who was in the know and in a position to be in the know.
But for you, Kerry,
as far as I'm concerned, I worked for JPL, Jet Propulsion Lab, in the communications area as a consultant contractor. So I was working around scientists and engineers and all of that sent the rovers to Mars and such, and other people. So I've had my disclosure. I've been face to face with the best, you might say the best and the brightest. And that is priceless. I've also been approached, quietly by certain others who never went on camera, et cetera, and so on. So all I can tell you is, a president is never going to be a big wow for me, because a president is a hired hand, first of all. And someone like Bobby Ray Inman, now that's another matter. Sure, I'd love to, sit and have coffee with him for a few hours. Because he really knows, the people that really know. These are the people that I respect, and the people that have been dealing with this reality, who go to work and deal with it every day. A president, I think Trump is read in enough to know quite a bit. What can I tell you? I don't see it like other people see it. I do understand that. But at the same time,
right.
I do think that we're moving towards that. Look, I also have had dreams of the future. Now, if one of my dreams comes true, disclosure in quite the way that people would like to see it is not going to happen for quite a while. I can say that, we are fighting wars with aliens right now. Soldiers are in Iraq and Iran are dealing with reptoids that are coming up from underground and interdimensional. They are fighting them. They don't remember. They are having their minds wiped. They are fighting wars on Mars and on the moon and killing beings, and Randy Kramer, he'll tell you, these people know what's real. These are the people that I respect. The people that have been in the trenches fighting the war on our behalf, fighting the good fight, the ones who really know the truth. The ones like Bill Cooper, yes, Bill Cooper and Phil Schneider, who disclosed, who were in the trenches and then came out and disclosed. The ones like Bob Dean that did the best they could to say as much as they could, and still keep their family alive. Clifford Stone. These are heroes. Okay.
Yeah. There's no
question.
question.
A president coming out and disclosing can't hold a candle to those people.
About, I don't even know now, maybe 6 months or a year ago, open lines, right? Thursday night, open lines. And Richard Doty calls in to Fade to Black. Yes, and you laugh, and that's and I'm with you on that. And I never wanted to interview Doty because of my pent up anger, but that's neither here nor there. But he calls in, and he said one thing in that interview that sticks to me. And he said that when he was doing his thing, that there were two informants, speakers on the circuit that are still on the circuit today, and he knows that they are working with an agency. And now, I didn't want to know the names. I definitely didn't want to open up that door, and we did not. But coming from Doty, we've got a little bit of a paradox here, right? We've got a conundrum. Do we believe Doty, or is this disinfo? What do you think about that statement? Do you think that there are...
Yes.
You sure you don't want to think about that for a second?
No, because I know. I mean, I know. I'm. What can I tell you? Yes, there are people that are respected who are still working. You know, I think people don't understand the game very well. I think you have to understand that people do have to go onto teams. I am still an oddity. I can tell you that in a hidden way, I'm probably part of some team that I don't really know what it is exactly, of white hats, if you want to call it that. People that protect me, people that, you know, when all the other teams say killer, they say, wait a minute, if you kill her, we're going to kill one of yours. And so it's a moot deal. You can't do anything. People have to save their own lives. And so I don't judge too harshly. I do understand that people are also, they consider themselves, you know, patriots for the cause and so on. I mean, you know, Bill Moore, you mentioned Bill Moore. He was a liar, you know, and he even came out and said he was putting out disinfo. I don't know all the players that are playing both sides and that are actually in some cases working very, very diligently to disinfo people. But I know enough of them, and I know who Doty knows to some degree. And I don't know everyone Doty knows. I mean, Doty planted a listening device, or had it done when we were in New Mexico, and we went to we drove over to a certain part of Arizona to visit a military member of the DIA who was part of the Serpo disclosures. You know, they put a device on our car to track us so that the people were standing in their yard when we drove up. That's how come we knew there was a tracker on our car.
I remember you telling me about that. Right. He also said that yes, that they are on the circuit, and I would know who they were. Now, I don't want to know the names. I just found it interesting that he would say something like that, and I don't know. When it comes with a guy like Doty, you know, you've got to. You know what? He is a disinfo guy, right? So, is it true or is it not? And that's part of the fun with this, where we're always trying to chase the truth, and you've got to have a filter on all the time, like a strainer. You know, like I'm straining pasta, and that's what I feel.
Fair enough. And, you know, you do have to, I mean, maybe take it with a grain of salt, as they say. I think you need to keep a balance in your mind. But I also think that if you know, what I was thinking about during the break is the idea that, you know, let's say you have two choices, and one is really fantastical and one is really like dull and boring. Now, which do you choose? To me, it's like more interesting to allow life to be as interesting as it wants to be, to allow reality to be as interesting as it wants to be. And, you know, I always say to people, why do you want to limit the imagination of God, for example? You know, think about that. There is no limit. Therefore, anything you can imagine could be done, could happen, could exist, you know, and that's it. I mean, you know, there are no limits for God. There might be limits for you or I here in this 3D world, but the reality is, you know, if you want to be so sort of small-minded as to think the only thing God ever thought of was to create a human on this planet, with all the billions and zillions of planets and stars and, you know, whatever else is out there, you know, sorry, that's a really pathetic excuse for a god, if you ask me.
Right.
So I just think people need to widen their minds. They need to really understand that reality is stranger than fiction. It's a fact. It really is. And if you begin to do an investigation, your mind will be bent. I mean, anyone who's gone down this investigative kind of road, yourself included, will know what I'm talking about, because I mean, I think I know a lot, but I didn't really think when Terry Lovelace said he saw a wall-size aquarium with what he thought were puppies in this pink liquid, which were in essence, hybrid human, to be future human hybrid, whatever kind of things, I mean, that's kind of mind-boggling, don't you think? Now,
yeah. The first time that he told me that story, I was floored, and it's only because he comes from a legal mindset. He's a trained professional, and he speaks. And when he delivers a story like that, and it's coming from Terry, you have to stop and listen. And that's the way that I take Terry on this. Oh, I want to get this in before we do run out of time. I'll be off the network here in a few minutes. Is you've had a lot of contact. You've seen a lot of things. I want you to share with us the one thing that you saw, that you witnessed for us, because I've seen lots of things. I share these stories all the time, but I don't think I've ever heard you talk about this. So what's the one experience that you can share with us?
I'm not sure what this is. One experience that I didn't in my life, do you talk about?
I'm talking about ET, UFOs, contact.
What have I not shared about that? It's hard for me to remember. I have an implant in my arm and a birthmark. And I believe I'm a MyLab. I tried to tell people about that. I was born in a military hospital on Moffett Field called Palo Alto.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That might be a little bit interesting for people that haven't heard that one. Trying to think, I've told the reptilian story, that I was going into a meditation and I saw a shikar, which is the reptilians that fly. At the time, I had seen the movie V, and this is the earlier TV version. This is years ago.
Right.
And I didn't believe that I thought that's ridiculous. They would not have a being like those reptilians. There is no way. And then actually going into a meditation, I actually tripped into an interdimensional kind of a world. I was wide awake. And I saw this being, and he saw me, and he flew by, and he wanted me to see him, and he was a consciousness. And I had I had never even thought of those beings, and certainly not with wings. So all I can tell you is from then on, I didn't question whether there were reptilians in the world, okay, and that they exist. I certainly know that they can go interdimensional. I can say that much. I had a sort of dream vision in which I saw this horrible kind of like being standing in line, and you might say it's a terrible metaphor, but he was standing in line at the cafeteria at JPL. Now I had this. I wasn't at JPL working there anymore, but and he had this white. You know how the underside of a snake has these white sort of scales, but it looks really kind of, I can't describe it exactly. It's sort of,
they're in lines.
It's scales, but it's really smooth scales.
Right. The soft white underbelly.
Yeah. That's the kind of skin he had, and he was tall and really pale. Looked at me, very sinister guy.
Wait a minute. Hold on. This is very interesting. So this is after you were contracting at JPL. You were not there, but you saw this being at JPL in the cafeteria, right?
In a dream.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right? Very interesting. Now, do you think that this is? I love this. See, I get to turn this around on Kerry. Do you think that this was a representation of something that was a reptilian that was an employee of JPL, right? That you're seeing him in his real form.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I do know that he was, that he looked at me. I do know that it wasn't really a dream.
Right.
What it was, I don't know how to classify it, right? So I can't tell you whether he was in his true form. He could pass for human, okay? But look, I think he was bald-ish as well. Look, JPL is NASA. I'm sure they have lots of reptilians.
I was just going to say, we can go on the record now. Kerry Cassidy says that JPL is run by reptilians.
Well, it's not run. It might be run by reptilians actually, but according to William Tompkins, it's sort of a war between the reptilians and the Pleiadians, who's really running the place. But I'm sure the humans have a vote at this point as well. And the Nazis are right in there, and some of those Nazis are reptilians. So, it's a cornucopia of choices.
You said to me many years ago, you said that we are all time travelers. This was during a phone call, everybody. And
yes.
I said to Kerry, I go, what do you mean? I'm not a time traveler. And you go, yes, you are, Jimmy. And I always remembered that. But what I would like for you to do is what did you mean that we are all time travelers?
Well, time and space are an illusion. Time and space, there's space, time, and time, space, and they intersect. And, you could look at the work of Richard Allen Miller, and I know you've had him on your show a lot, and he talks about the reality is that our consciousness kind of comes to that point, that intersection point where time and space connect. And in a sense, what physicists will also tell you is that time and space is an illusion. If that's true, and at the same time they can say that this is all one, then in essence, time, as we think of it, is only linear in our brain to be played out in this kind of this board game we call a hologram that involves Earth and all the other planets and various ETs and so on and so forth. So,
right.
And various levels, dimensions and densities, etc. So, in other words, at play in the fields of the Lord is one saying you could kind of generalize in this sense. We are all like at the moment now. I'm going to fly to the UK for Christmas. I will be time traveling. I'll be traveling through time. When I get to the UK, I will skip over a certain amount of time, and I'll be in a different day and a different time.
Right.
And that's time traveling. So if you can time travel in a jet, then what the heck do you think you can do in a UFO going from here to the moon, or folding time space, or going, interdimensional, going interstellar? When you look at a star, they say the time, all this kind of thing about it's actually, you're seeing the past happening, millions of years ago or something. In other words, we ourselves are reincarnated. So we live through various times. That makes us a time traveler. When you go to sleep at night, you can easily travel back in time, forward in time. This is what precog events are, and so on. So, we're always traveling in time. It's just part of what we do. It's just as natural as, as putting on clothes.
Do you find that because of the amount of influence you have out there and so many are ready to pounce, do you watch what you say? Do you run with a filter?
No.
You don't care?
Can't you tell? I'm sorry. It's really hard for me not to swear because I don't have a filter that much. So I All I can say is that I kind of I trust in myself, and I trust in this sort of greater good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of those people who actually believe that humanity is good at root rather than evil and bad.
Right.
I think being told we're bad and sinners is an overlay. It's a lie. It's a way of getting us to not believe in ourselves and also to take the planet away. This is, it's the king syndrome. It's the Anunnaki did it, ages ago, and people still read the Bible and believe these guys are telling them the truth. I mean, it's it's a playbook. It's nonsense. You can change reality. And if we decide to be on another timeline, then we frickin' will. And we are very powerful together when we link up into a field of resonance like we're doing tonight.
Right.
And it's very exciting. It's not me. It's not you. It's all of us. That's the power. It's just, I happen to be voicing it, but I'm voicing what's in the hearts and souls of the people that, that follow my work, because they're already there. They just want to hear it out loud in this reality.
And I want to thank you, Kerry. It's an unbelievably great conversation tonight. What night do you broadcast, and where can everybody go and find you?
Okay, well, I broadcast usually, I'm supposed to broadcast Wednesdays and Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube, on my channel. And I also broadcast on Fridays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. The reason I do different broadcasts at different times is to accommodate whistleblowers and truth tellers that don't live in the United States. They might live overseas, or they can't make certain times. So I do vary it. Like Monday, which is this is Tuesday, I did 2 interviews, and they were with people from overseas. I did a roundtable discussion at 10 a.m., and I'm not a morning person. God save me when I have to do that.
Right.
And the other one was with Tony Gosling, and he's in the UK. It's late at night there, and we talked around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So, I'm flexible, and if something really important comes up, I'll go live that minute. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So because I have a YouTube channel and because I can reach social media in an instant, that allows me a lot of leeway. And I also have a long time ago, I had a college professor who basically said, actually it was this radical SEAL, trying to remember his name. I think it might have been Bobby Seale, who was a radical at the time. He came to speak at my college. He said, if I reach one person in this audience today, I'll have done my job. And, I was really impressed with that because, he was a very cool guy. He was talking about very important things back in that day. And I just thought, I'm going to remember that. And I hope I can keep that with me, no matter where I go or what I do, because I think that's a really beautiful thing to think. And so I don't worry. I have numbers, but I don't worry about numbers. Numbers don't mean a hell of a lot to me. I'm just doing what I love, and I want people to do what they love. And I think that reaching people, if you do reach one person, it does get out there because we're amazing. We do share with each other, and we have a natural proclivity to do that. And that's one of the wonderful things about humans.
Thank you so much, Kerry. And we went right up to it. I've got to run credits. And our holiday party, Kerry, for Fade to Black is at the Rainbow Bar and Grill on December 26th, the day after Christmas. If you're in town,
oh, wow,
you should come by and hang out with all of us.
I would love to, but I'm going to be overseas.
Oh, there you go. Kerry Cassidy. It is ProjectCamelotPortal.com. All of the other links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Thank you so much, Kerry. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camarion. Show was produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Viteau, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. It's broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Tyler Glockner, right here from Secureteam. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Backley Tappy.